This season, The Mandalorian has been taking some deep dives and introducing fan-favorite characters like Ahsoka Tano, Bo-Katan, and Cobb Vanth to live action. I decided to find out what's the impact that that's having on the story to the casual fan. So I talked to my 73-year-old father Randy about it, and here's what he had to say.
So, Dad, thanks for joining me. It's good to see you on this Thanksgiving holiday. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get together in person because of the pandemic, but it's nice to see you. How's things going? How are you?
Oh, I'm doing very well. Mom's doing fine, and we haven't killed each other yet, being in quarantine. But
yesterday was the debut of Mandalorian Chapter 13, Season 2, Episode 5, which set the Star Wars fandom on fire. And you may or may not know, but people who listen to my show will know that when I reference sort of what we call normies, people who are Star Wars fans, casual Star Wars fans, I often reference you. Like when I talk about where's the story going to go and how will people respond to that story, I often refer to you. I say, like, how is my dad responding to this? Well, last night I received a text from you that just basically said Grogu with question mark. And I wanted to, I thought it would be cool to see how Mandalorian is landing with you as sort of what I would call a casual fan, a serious but casual Star Wars fan.
Well, first of all, Mandalorian now has become must-watch TV for Mom and I. It's probably our favorite show on television. Mandalorian is the only drama show that I really look forward to watching. We had no clue what was coming. I mean, we should have had a clue that it was going to be a really big episode just by the title, The Jedi. And we had no background of any of the characters that were in the show because we never followed the animated series and we never read any of the novels. So we didn't know anything about the character that Rosario Dawson played, except I knew that it was Rosario Dawson playing the character. I recognized her right away.
Yeah.
And so just as a standalone episode, it just really took me in. It was a great episode.
But so let me ask you though, because this season has been filled with, I mean, from episode 1 of this season, chapter 9, all the way through to the latest episode, it's been filled with characters that bring enormous backstory with them. But has there been any major gaps, anything where you've been watching Rosario Dawson's character or any of the other episodes and been like, I feel like I'm missing something here?
No, not at all. Every episode has been an awesome standalone type episode. You don't even have to know anything about Star Wars to enjoy these episodes.
All right. So you said that there's not been anything that has been a gap for you, anything that where you felt like, I think that there's something else beyond that character. So I'm going to throw a couple things at you and see what your response was. So first of all, the Marshal from the first episode,
Right.
which was his character's name was Cobb Vanth. Did you pick on the armor he was wearing? Did you pick up on that as a casual fan? Okay.
Nope.
So you didn't recognize that as Boba Fett's armor. So that didn't even, you didn't even care about that then.
At my level,
right?
At my level of understanding, I didn't need to because the story itself and the character itself kept me interested.
Right. And
so the armor to me wasn't necessary to understand why the Mandalorian was there, what he was trying to do, and to see whether or not the person he was encountering was going to be a good guy or a bad guy.
All right. So the Boba Fett thing the Boba Fett armor meant nothing to you. The fact that we saw Tamora Morrison at the end of that episode kind of watch the Mando go off into the sunset meant nothing to you.
No. I knew it had to mean that there was something foreboding in that they showed somebody watching him go
Yeah.
off. But
And,
I didn't know who the somebody was.
and it
So I
didn't
knew he
matter,
was
right?
going to pop up again and be important.
One of the conversations I've had very regularly has been how do they take all these things, and I think this is important for Star Wars fans who are in this sort of that 5% of fans that don't miss any piece of content that comes out, that read it and study it. That all that stuff is there for us. The rest of it is for the rest of the, what is it, however much, 75 million people who subscribe to Disney Plus, right?
Right.
It's a fun series in that regard. I'll throw another character out in the episode where I think it was number 3, where those 3 Mandalorians came to save him. What were your thoughts on those characters? Was there anything in there that again, was there any disconnect, or did it just feel like it made sense?
By that time, I've picked up on some of the lore of the Mandalorian.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't understand. The first thing that blew my mind was the fact that they were taking their helmets off.
Yeah.
If they're Mandalorians, why are they taking their helmets off? I thought Mandalorians, when they were at least in public, always kept the helmets on.
Yeah.
So I didn't understand that part of it.
So many people in the Star Wars fan echo chamber were asking, why isn't he taking off his helmet? Because we watched Clone Wars and we watched Star Wars Rebels, and they took off their helmets all the time. Like, they'd walk into a room and take off their helmet and hold it. And that was like, there were a lot of fans in the social space and in the conversation saying, wait a second, how are they going to explain that? And they did. And I thought that was an interesting way to do it. The other thing is Bo-Katan, Katie Sackhoff, the woman with the red hair, she is a character that came from the animation series Clone Wars, and she was also in Rebels. And to see her come to life blew the minds of all the fans. But again, interestingly for you, she was just an interesting part of his journey.
Right. Like Rosario Dawson's character this week.
Right.
She was animated, from what I understand.
Yes, and in fact, that's really interesting. So Ahsoka Tano. So you met her as a Star Wars fan for the first time with this episode. What's your take on her?
Very strong character. She's a character that I hope is going to keep coming back.
So the very short version of Ahsoka Tano's story is she was introduced, I think it was 2008, when the Star Wars Clone Wars cartoon came out, the one that was in the theaters. Call it a cartoon. I feel like that's disrespectful somehow. But the animated film, which was met with I think it's second only to the holiday special to a lot of people. And she was introduced. Her story is she's Anakin's Padawan.
Yeah, so that's big.
But yet you were still able to completely enjoy the series, which is
without a doubt.
Fantastic. Yeah.
This series doesn't need the Star Wars connection to succeed.
Mm.
I mean, the Star Wars connection is there for the Star Wars junkies who love picking up on the little what do you call them, Easter eggs and and surprises and reveals, the backstory reveals that come up. The Disney people have really hit on that, and they're hammering it, and they're hammering it good. They're hammering it in a good way. As the series evolves and moves on, will the names that you're very familiar with become familiar to me through the series? How much will they clear up as the series goes on? And then, so far from what I've seen, do they actually need to clear anything up?
Yeah,
because the series is so good the way it is right now.
Well, it helps answer a question that I had yesterday. Me and the rest of the network folks, we were going back and forth, and somebody was saying, so for example, when we know eventually, maybe the end of this season, the beginning of next season, he's going to put the child on I think she called it a seeing stone on this Jedi temple, and if there's any Jedi around, they'll reach out to him. So for you, do you want it to be somebody you know? like a Luke, a Qui-Gon, a Mace Windu, a Yoda, somebody reaching out to him through the Force? Or do you want it to be a new character?
The only thing I would want would be for if somebody does reach out, whoever it is that reaches out is actually reaching out for a reason that's good to the story. If it happens to be a character that they're reviving that I'm familiar with, oh, great, that's great. But it doesn't have to be, and I don't necessarily look forward to it being a character I know. And I will say right up front, if it's not a character I'm familiar with, I will not be disappointed. This has gotten me interested in some of the backstories enough so that if we lived closer to you, Saturday morning, I'd be coming down and grabbing Jack, and we'd be watching reruns of what is it, the Rebel one? Or
there was Rebels, there was Clone Wars. Yep.
Yeah, the ones that Jack watched.
Yeah, Jack loved. Yeah.
And then Jack could fill me in on some of the background as we were going on.
Any closing thoughts on The Mandalorian?
Yeah, stay away from cliffhangers. Keep doing what they're doing, because in order to get somebody like me looking forward to watching it, they've got to be doing something right. Don't overanalyze. If you're Disney, don't overanalyze what you're doing. Just keep doing it because it's working, and keep the same creative core of people working in it. If you're going to have to change the creative core, just work people in and work people out. Don't. There's absolutely no need to make any radical changes in this formula because it's working. It's working beautifully.
Cool. Well, this was great. This was eye-opening for me. Because as I said, there was always sort of a nagging feeling in my head that they were going too deep for the deep fan and possibly losing the casual fan. And, to not to put words in your mouth, but the fact that the 3 major character reveals this season didn't have any impact other than you thought they were good parts of the story. Well, all right. Well, this was great. I will let's keep in touch.
Yes.
I don't know. I mean, how do you close an interview with your dad when you're stuck in pandemic? I'm not sure what the protocol is on that, other than to say
we live in new times, son.
We do.
We're creating our own protocols. That's what we're doing.